Hey, Patrick, thanks for joining us. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. I've got you perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you joining us. For those that are just seeing this video for the first time, my name is Brian Barkia. I'm with BuildMyReputation.com. And through the course of what I do for business, I've gotten to know this HVAC world quite a bit, and specifically how companies are bought and sold. I'm joined today with Patrick Lange. He's with Business Modification Group, and he does more transactions specifically around the HVAC space is buying and selling companies than anybody across the U.S. that I've come across. So we wanted to talk today about how do you expand your existing HVAC company. Now, of course, you're going to add customers one at a time, as you should, but can you fast forward your expansion strategy by acquiring another company? And that's what Patrick is going to talk about today. So, Patrick, we're in some crazy times, pandemic, social issues, all kinds of different things. Is it still a good time to take risk and buy an HVAC company?
Absolutely. I 100% believe so. I've got, as you know, Brian, I've got quite a few companies for sale in the heating and air space, and I touch base with them, and we've actually been having some businesses sell over the last couple of months as this craziness has been going on. But the reality is, many of the companies aren't even down. The heating and air is one of those industries that I can't say recession resistant, but certainly not as impacted as other industries are in times of economic downturn. And no matter how bad things are outside, people still want cold air in the summertime and warm
Sure.
air in the wintertime. And so, as long as a business is built on service, I think they're going to be okay. And I've got some companies in some kind of rental markets, vacation areas, and so those companies were hurt a little bit because people weren't able to rent the houses. If the air conditioner's not running, it's not going to break. So they're down a little bit. But the reality is, now that things are starting to open back up, their numbers have ramped back up, and summer's here, and we're starting to warm up, and so I think it's an excellent time.
Okay, wonderful. Now, if I'm thinking about expanding my HVAC company, what do people normally do? Do they start geographically close to them and go out from there, or does it kind of vary?
I think it really varies, depends on what kind of market you serve. If you're in an area like Atlanta, where the demographics are there, and if you expanded your circle 5 more miles, you could add hundreds of thousands of people. So in that type of area, it makes sense, I think, to stay close to home. But I've had a lot of people in the Florida Panhandle that were in one town in the Panhandle, and they want to expand to another town 50, 60, 70 miles away and expand across that corridor. People in Tampa wanting to go to Orlando, so Myrtle Beach wanting to go to Charleston. So I think it really depends on the area you currently serve with your business, how that business is structured, and what you're looking to accomplish. Are you going to keep the company you buy? Are you going to keep their name? Are you planning on them running as a separate company, or are you going to co-brand them underneath yours? So it really depends on what you're looking for. To answer that question honestly, it just varies for each person.
Okay. And is there like an ideal company size to target? I mean, should I look for the Chuck in the truck or something a little bit more substantial?
Well, I think once again, it depends on what you're looking to achieve. So if you're in the same area and looking just to add customers, that one man operation, Chuck in a truck, as they're called, I think it'd be perfect. You can typically pick them up. They normally have a loyal client base. They normally do a good job for their customers. They're often willing to stick around to that transition. So in that environment, that could be a perfect opportunity. However, if you're looking at going 80 miles away from your current location, it may not make sense to buy one person there, simply because now you've got to put a guy there. And how are you going to take care of that guy, and how are you going to handle the parts, and how are you going to do those things? So it may make sense, if you're expanding farther away, to go a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm reminded on your website at businessmodificationgroup.com, you've got a few articles there about how to source talent, grow your own talent, and of course that's a big reason, or if not a reason itself, it's certainly a nice benefit to acquire another company, is some ready-made talent that you already have.
Absolutely, and I see that for bigger companies. There's some national players that, when they want to move into an area, they're going to buy a company because of the talent. The reality is, and you and I have talked about it a lot, in this industry, if you can control the employee workforce and you can control the problems that are associated with that in the industry, you can dominate the market. And so that's probably the biggest thing that people run into in the heating and air space is finding quality employees. And if you're in a position that you can do so by acquiring them, often less expensive, I hate to say cheaper, but cheaper than building and developing yourself, then it may make sense to do that. And so I do see a lot of bigger players look at buying companies in a new area just to get the people. And there's quality people there to get them, and because they're hard to come by.
Yeah, and they're already trained, already been through the learning curve. I mean, if you were to hire people on your own, either they're cast-offs from somebody else's company, or if they're new folks, maybe your long-term success rate with them is maybe 50% at best, even with the best hiring companies. So I could see that being an effective strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. The turnover is high in the industry. I see a lot of people, employees for one reason or another. I call it kind of chasing the shiny nickel, 10 cents more an hour, 50 cents more an hour. You come to my company, you don't have to crawl in an attic, you don't have to go underneath the house, whatever the story may be. And you see a lot of people that in 5 years have been at 10 different companies. And so it's expensive to do that. You bring somebody on, you train them in your way, you put them in a truck, you insure them, you put a uniform on them. When you start spending all that money and then they don't work out, you've lost a lot of money. And so if you're able to pick up a company that's got quality employees that are doing a great job and are happy to be there, as long as you don't rock the boat much, now you should be able to pick up those same employees.
Sure, that's a reason in itself.
Absolutely.
How does that work? Like, so if I were to acquire another company, that existing business owner has built it, it's his baby, that company has its own culture, and I'm going to merge it with mine. What is typically the role of that seller moving forward? How involved do I want him to be in the business, you think?
That's on a case by case basis, I think. I advise all buyers and sellers don't agree to a long term commitment on either side because you could say you want the seller to stick around and realize that the seller's been the one that's been slowing the growth because of the things they believe in or the things they put in place that have been causing the business to hit a ceiling. So them sticking around may prevent you from taking it to the next level. At the same point in time, I believe you want them there at least short term to show the employees that they believe in the new owner, that they're sticking around, that it's going to be a smooth transition. And so they're not just throwing their employees and their customers to the wolves and running off, that they're there to help with that transitionary process and they believe in the new people. And so I think it gives both the employees and I think the customers, it gives them a calmer feeling that everything's going to be okay and this is going to be a good switch for everybody. So I think short term it's absolutely necessary. I advise don't ask on either side for more than a month, and at the end of that month then say, does it make sense to the buyer? Does it still make sense for the seller? Then yes, let's continue. And if not, then the seller can move on to play golf, go fishing, retire, whatever it is they want it to do.
Right, right. And I know from our previous conversations that one of the best ways to build value in your HVAC company is to have these maintenance agreements in place. Okay, and by percentage representing your total income, that it's significant. Some companies are better than others at doing this, right? I guess there's two different schools of thought, right? Should I look for the company that has a low percentage of maintenance agreements in place? Or should I look for that company on the other end that has a high percentage of maintenance agreements? So I have that reoccurring revenue.
The answer is yes. I think it really depends on what you're paying for it. I think that there's opportunities where if a company is purchased properly in the right price range that doesn't have maintenance agreements but has some loyal customers, that it's low-hanging fruit. So that new owner can come in there if they have the systems in place to promote maintenance agreements and the benefits of them and convert those customers over. Automatically, it's additional income that they didn't pay for. Typically, a company that has solid maintenance agreements in place is going to trade for a higher premium. And so you have to decide, can I get a better deal on a company that doesn't have them and then do the work and put them in place, or is it better for me to buy them when they're there? And so I think there's pluses and minuses to both. Knowing that some of the people when you buy that company are not going to stick around, so you may lose some of the existing maintenance agreements that you technically paid for. But and some of the new people, because they have never been exposed to a maintenance agreement, if the company hasn't been a big promoter in them, may not agree with the maintenance agreement when you're the new guy in town as far as they're concerned. So I think there's pluses and minuses to both, and I think both can work in the right environment. But if you're buying them without the maintenance agreements, don't pay the premium that you would if it had maintenance agreements attached. Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, you're certainly going to pay more for that company that has those maintenance agreements already in place. And I suppose it would make sense to look for a company that's maybe its weakness is my strength,
Right.
so we can
If
complement.
you have that system, and that's the reality. There's a lot of different coaching organizations that teach people how to increase their maintenance agreement numbers and the why behind it and getting staff on board. And that's the other part, back to taking on that staff. So if you buy a company that has 3, 4 technicians that have never sold a maintenance agreement, and your plan is to put these customers in a maintenance program, you have to know that you may have an uphill battle with those employees that you're taking on because they've just never been exposed to it or never believed in it. The seller may not have believed in it. I've had businesses that I've sold, quite a few actually, that had no maintenance agreements. And what I classify as a maintenance agreement, something that's written, they go to at least twice a year, prepaid. And a lot of people that have been in the industry for a number of years didn't believe in them because they didn't believe in charging for somebody for something they haven't provided. So they didn't believe in the prepaid part of the maintenance agreements. They would have card files or notebooks or lists of customers that they called every year, went out and did the maintenance agreements, serviced the maintenance of those units, but they didn't have any formal written unit. And they would preach to me, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. So those employees, if they've been there 10 years, have heard that exact same thing. So now you've got to do a mindset shift with those employees that here's why we're doing it that way. Here's how it benefits the customer. Here's how it benefits the company, all those things. And so that may be a little bit of an uphill battle. And so that's some of that transitionary process. And then once again, if the seller's there and the seller's preaching, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in this, you're running behind his back saying, this is what we're going to do, it could make it challenging. So back to your, should the seller stay on? In that environment, it probably wouldn't be a good reason for him to stay on. And so, I've kind of gone all over the place with that answer, but the reality is you have to know where your strength is, what you believe in as a company, and translate that to the employees and the customers.
Sounds good. So if a current HVAC owner likes this growth through acquisition strategy, how do they find those companies that are for sale?
Obviously, my first recommendation would be my website. We have a lot of listings on there of heating and air companies across the country that are listed. But a good place is Biz Buy Sell or BizQuest or any of the other brokerage sites that are out there. There's kind of almost an MLS system, but a listing place where people can list, other brokers around the country, even private sellers can list their companies for sale. And so you can do searches, simply going online, searching HVAC business for sale or heating and air company for sale, and it'll pull up different listings where you can take a look at them.
Gotcha. And on businessmodificationgroup.com, we've got each state bracketed out, so to speak, so you can see what's for sale in each individual state. And even if somebody doesn't see something that's a good match for them or is in their state, you still have sellers that haven't quite officially listed their business, but if they have the right opportunity, the right buyer come by, they'd love that conversation. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I even have I have buyers contact me and say, hey, I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm looking for a company, and here's what I'm looking for. And we do mailings to those areas. We do phone calls to those areas. I'm connected with a lot of people on social media, LinkedIn, and I'm part of a lot of different groups. And so I have the ability to say, hey, I've got somebody looking in this area. If anybody's interested in selling, let me know, in addition to the ones you talk about, because for me to take on a listing, it's a process both for me and for the seller. So they don't just call me and say, I want $1 million for my business, come list it. We have a long conversation about what they're looking for, what their business is, what are the strengths and weaknesses. And then we go through 3 years of financials and determine where should that business really be priced? What's it really worth in the marketplace today? And so it could take us a month before the business is actually even listed. So there may be something that's not even on the market yet that could be next week, next month, 2 weeks from now. And through my conversations, I have a lot of people that reach out to me on social media and say, hey, I'm in Toledo, Ohio. I'm not ready to sell. I don't want to go to the market, but if you come across a buyer, call me. And so I have a list of those people. So when somebody does reach out to me, I'm able to kind of play matchmaker on that point, where it's not an active listing, but I can help try to facilitate a deal to help a buyer buy and a seller sell.
Gotcha. So, and how do we, if I do identify a company that I'm interested in purchasing, and the other party is open to that as well, how do I finance this deal? The government has some additional incentives recently, don't they?
Absolutely. The bulk of the finance transactions we do are through what's called an SBA 7A loan. And that's typically a small business administration loan for these types of companies. Right now, because of what had taken place with the virus and things going on, they've actually the government has agreed to pay your first 6 payments of principal and interest on any new loan that's done between now and September 23rd. So typically those loans are 10 years. So we're talking about the government is going to pay 5% of your loan. And this is not, they're going to help you. This is not, they're going to defer payments. This is not, they're going to offset something. They literally are paying your payments for you. So you, for the first 6 months of owning that business, don't have a payment to be made. In the heating and air space, to me, that's incredible. You buy a company now in the summertime, you can make all your summer money. And then when it typically slows down in the winter or fall time, the government's going to be paying that loan for you, so you don't even have that outgoing expense until next summer comes back around when you start in the profitable time again. So I think it's incredible what the government's offered, and I think people that don't take advantage of it now, that are looking at buying another company, a year from now, they're going to look back and kick themselves and say, I should have done that.
Yeah, and those are, I think those are the best terms I think the SBA has really ever offered. Never heard anything.
Yeah, and interest rates are incredibly low right now. I mean, obviously, with everything that's taking place economically, the interest rates, I've never seen them this low. Since I've been in the business, I've never seen them this low. And so when they were that low before, they weren't really lending. So they were advertising these low rates, but they found all these different reasons in the 08, 09 time frame where it was challenging to get things approved. So right now, especially if you're already in the space, if you're already in the heating and air space, I've got lenders that I work with that just lend to heating and air companies, know the industry, know the business. It's an incredible time to do an acquisition. And once again, they're going to make the first 6 payments for you. So it's free money, 100% free. So that's pretty incredible to me.
That sounds great. So if somebody wants to pursue this growth through acquisition strategy, how should they get in touch with you?
Lots of different ways. Obviously, you can call me directly. My number is on everything, 352-440-4604. That goes directly to me. Because of the confidentiality of this industry, I don't have it go through an office and somebody else take the call. So I'm not always available if I'm on a meeting like this. I have to send you to voicemail, but I'll certainly call you right back. You can email me, Patrick at Business Modification Group. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. My website, they can request information on there. We write various articles for industry publications, ACHR News, HVACR Business, HVAC Insider. So articles are typically in there. We try to give out as much information as we can about the process, but I'm always open just to talk to somebody. So if they're thinking of something and want to bounce an idea off somebody, give me a call. Even if it's not a transaction that I'm part of, I try to give as much information out as I can. And I've had a lot of people call me and say, I'm looking at buying out my neighbor. I'm looking at buying out my uncle. Is this a good transaction? How should it be priced? I'm always willing to do those types of things. I think it betters the industry when people do good through those transactions. And so I firmly believe that the money's made in buying a heating and air company when you buy it, not when you sell it. And so if you overpay for something, because you didn't know any better. You spend that entire time that you own it chasing yourself, trying to catch back up for the mistake you made. And so by making sure it's priced properly, taking advantage of SBA type of transactions and deals that able to keep cash in the bank and help you out, I think it's better for everybody involved, and I'm more than happy to help any way I can.
Sounds great. BusinessModificationGroup.com is the website. Patrick, thank you very much for your time today, and we'll catch up next time, okay?
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.